Hello all, welcome to NetBook and welcome back to Mulesoft tutorials. Today I'm planning to talk about how we can integrate with the ShowBased web services. From today, for a couple of weeks, I'm going to show how we can integrate with the different systems like Salesforce, database, MQ systems. Like this, I'm going to show many integration applications in a Mulesoft. So as part of these tutorials, I'm going to cover how we can integrate with the ShowBased web services in a Mulesoft. First of all, you need to understand what is a ShowBased web services. A ShowBased web services is a simple object access protocol. That means an object how we can access simple using the web services. It is a XML based, and mostly the ShowBased web services are recommended by W3. So these ShowBased web services are mainly used for interacting between two systems or two applications. And this is the ShowBased web services are XML based and it is language and platform independent. When I say language independent, you can develop this ShowBased web services in Java and can communicate with the .NET applications. Similarly, you can develop .NET applications using this and you can interact with some other applications. Similarly, the platform independent is the ShowBased web services can run it in any platform. It can be Windows, it can be Linux, it can be Mac, whatever OS it is going to be. So the ShowBased web services, if you want to consume in Mulesoft, first of all, you need to use a web service consumer connector in a Mulesoft, and we need to create a configuration to connect with the ShowBased application. The configuration is important, where you will be using a WSDL. For the ShowBased web services, WSDL is one of the main resource. WSDL is web service description language, which is required to interact with the ShowBased web services. And then in a ShowBased web services, mostly we will have an operation parameter, like what operation you are calling, and message properties or parameters. Message parameters is like your header of the message and body of the message and attachments. To do this integration in a Mulesoft, first of all, you need to add a WSDL in a resources, and then we need to add a dependency, web service consumer dependency in Mulesoft application, creating a global configuration for the web service consumer, where you need to provide WSDL, service name, port number, port name, and URL. And then we are going to drag and drop web service consumer in a flow, and we are going to map XML data for request. And if you want to convert the response into JSON, you are going to do the response mapping. Now let's get started how we can exactly do these steps in a Mulesoft. Let me show you. Go to the Anypoint Studio, create a Mule application. I'm going to create a application over here, Mulesoft project. Before that, I just want to show you what web services I'm going to consume. So I have googled this one of the web service consumer provided free of cost, and there is a web calculator web service which is we are getting free of cost, or maybe we can get it freely to test this application. So this calculator service have 4 operation: addition, division, multiply, and subtract. These are the operations. If we want to add 2 integers, we use a add method, and we can add the numbers. That is what we are going to see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create with this name sys calculator API. Click on finish. Once the project is created, the Mulesoft structure of the project is going to form over here, where it will have a mule flows, resources and test folders and all. Over here you can see src main resources. Under this I need to add a visitor. Before adding a visitor, I'm going to create a package over here, folder. I'm going to say that visitor, or maybe I think package it is going to be. Right click, new package, visitor. And it is not a mandatory, but it is a good practice to create a package here. And now what I am going to do is, there is a service description. This is the visitor. You can see the visitor. I can download this visitor, save as. I'm going to save it this into some location. I'm going to save it into over here. Let me go to this folder, files. I have a visitor. Under this I'm going to save it, but if you see that it is saved as .xml. Let me go to that location, NetBook files, and it should not be .xml, it should be .visitor. Use .visitor. I'm going to copy this. Now let's copy this file in a src main resource folder. Copy it and paste it over here. That is the first step we need to do. I have shown in the documentation also here. The second step is add web service consumer dependency. Now let's go and add a module. In the add a module, we should be able to see web service consume, drag and drop over here. This will add it as a dependency in a pom.xml, and I have added over here. That is the second step. The third step is we need to create a global configuration for web service consume. Now go to global elements. Under global elements, create web service consume config. Select that, and SOAP version will be, we have a two versions, SOAP 1.1, SOAP 1.2. By default it is a SOAP 1.1. I'm going to use it over here. I will talk about mtom enable in a different video. If you want to work with attachments and all, you need to enable this. And then visitor location. Visitor location, I'm going to browse it. I just copied in the previous step under src main resources. This visitor I'm going to select over here. So when I select that, automatically the service name is going to populate, and similarly the port is going to populate. It will take some time to load this, and then it will come as a drop down over here. You can see in the drop down we can select port, then address will be populated, otherwise you can get it. Sometime with the workspace issues and all, it might not load automatically. When it is not loaded, you can go and search the service name and all in the visitor. Over here you can see service name is calculator, port name is this, and location is this one. So we can copy from this and we can place it over here. That also we can do it. Then click on OK. That is the third step we need to perform. The fourth step is we need to drag and drop web service consume in a flow. I will go and select over here web service consume, and you can see the consume. When you select, drag and drop this consume, automatically the flow will be created. I'm going to select from this drop down as a add method. I want to perform addition of two numbers, so I selected this add over here. That is the fourth step we need to perform. The fifth step is for the consuming of this method, we need to pass two parameters. So as a XML map we need to do that mapping, we need to use a transform message over here. In the transform message, if you see that as a two parameters we need to pass. So as visitor is selected, automatically the operations input parameters will be populated over here. So I'm going to double click this over here and see that over here you need to pass a input. I'm going to select payload dot value 1, and then payload dot value 2. These are the two parameters which I'm going to pass as a payload. So these two as mapped over here. Automatically this code will be generated when you double click on these parameters. That is the request mapping. So if you want to make a change, you can say that request map. Then what it does is it's going to call this web service consume. It is going to give a output as a result. I want to transform that into JSON, so I'm going to use a transform message over here. I will say that response mapping, response map, and then over here I'm going to convert as a JSON, and my value will be sum of this value, so I'm going to use sum, and payload dot body dot add response, because of if you see this add response, then add result. So this is going to return as a result the value I'm mapping to the sum element over here. That is what I'm doing over here. That's it. Save it. That's it. That is the fifth step and sixth step which I mentioned over here, request and response mappings. Then if I want to test this, I need to pass two parameters, right? To pass that two parameters, I'm going to use HTTP listener over here. In the HTTP listener, I'm going to send a payload as value 1, value 2. I'm going to keep it as it is, the default host name, port number, and the path I'm going to use as add over here. Okay, that's it. Let me save it this, and now I am able to see that my flow is successfully implemented. So let me test it this. Right click, run this project. Meanwhile, I'm going to build a URL and input request for this. For that, I'm going to use a postman over here. Postman is a tool for testing your application or testing your APIs. Let me use web version. If I think I should have a web version here. Not this. I need to sign in, so I'm going to sign in over here for contact. So over here I'm going to select NetBook as my workspace. I should have over here, let me create a new request over here. I'm going to use a post method, http localhost 8081 / add as my path, and I need a body with a raw data of JSON over here, value 1, so it should be JSON data value 1. I'm going to pass as a 10 comma value 2 as 5 over here. This is my JSON input request. As soon as I submit this request, my request will come over here and it will transform into XML over here as I mapped over here. That XML data will be passed to this web service consumer, and this is going to call the external system ShowBased web services with this operation and these input parameters, that int a, int b. Then it will return a result in XML. The result will be in a add response. Under that add result as a number it is going to return. That I map to the sum, so it will give final response in a JSON as I mapped in a transform message. Let me get tested this. It is deployed my application. Let me clear the console. I'm going to submit this request, send. Now we can see the response as 15. Let me change the values. I change the values, value 2 as a 10 and value 1 as 30, submit, and we can see that 40 as my response. That simple it is. Now you can see how this is going to work. It is very simple. First we need to add a visitor in a resource folder, and the second step is we need to add the dependency, web service consumer dependency here. And then third step is, in a global configuration, we need to add the global web service consumer configuration. And the fourth step is drag and drop the consume. And fifth step is map the request and response. That's it. I hope this is clear for everyone. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, subscribe NetBook. See you in the next video.